Okay, so here's a brief discussion about the neighbor's window. There we go. So I think the discussion that followed from this film was about the difference in the lifestyle and the relationship to the other in the two families. So there's Allie and Jacob, and then the two people we don't know across the street. And initially, the voyeurism starts with Allie and Jacob through a kind of jealousy, right? They're looking at these young people who seem to do nothing but have parties, sleep until noon, and have sex. And so there's this kind of youthful thing. And at one point, Jacob says to her in response to one of her complaints, that she's not, I'm not 25 anymore, right? Things change. And so there is a kind of envy there. And of course, some of the things that Allie seems to accuse Jacob of, she is the one that's actually doing. So, she at one point says, I don't want to come home to my husband staring across at the neighbors with his dick out. So she's getting aggressive, accuses him that the reason that he wants to get binoculars for Father's Day is so that he can watch his new best friends, right? Which alluding to the women across the street, the couple across the street. And when later on we see that Allie is precisely doing that. And at one point in the middle of the night, she's there staring at them with these, in the dark, with the binoculars. Jacob comes out, sees her there, and then goes back and kind of loudly slams the door, right? So that she knows that he saw her. Right? And even in the opening moment when he says, wow, she's flexible. And he says, Allie says, yeah, he's really hot too. He said, I said she was flexible. I didn't say she was hot. So again, there's a kind of projecting that's happening there, a transference, I suppose, that's happening between Allie and Jacob. But both reasonably kind of fascinated. They don't see them for a long time. And then when he comes back, something has changed. And it looks like the husband of the woman in the couple across the street has fallen gravely ill. Because Jacob says, "Is he hungover? What's doesn't look very good." And then, of course, we know that he's back for end of life career, hospice, staying at home. And then one of the last scenes is we see him being zipped up into a body bag and taken away. And the woman goes out onto the street, and so does Allie, because rushing out. And that's when we find the genesis of how they were watching Allie and Jacob. He says, "Isn't your window next to ours, like across the street?" And she's like, "Oh, yeah." And so when my husband got sick, that's the thing, right? The sort of tragedy. So both of them, I guess, are dealing with a kind of trauma, although the one is a much more banal trauma than what the neighbors is. That when one of them is dying, and so they have a chance to kind of look across, and because they're lying in bed all day, right? Because he's expiring, and then she says, "You have those kids; they're hilarious and adorable, right?" And that's the moment where you recognize that each is kind of fantasizing or envious of what the other has, right? And in many respects, like, neither will ever have that, right? Or again, I guess Jacob and Allie can't go back to being childless and 20. And the neighbors, well, one of them has died, so they will not have a family, right? Both of those things are kind of important. And then, of course, the ending of the film, we see, so the family was out, and there was an earlier confrontation when he's doing work at the kitchen table. That's another thing. She accuses him of spending more time in the kitchen so that he can look at the neighbors. But when she comes home, he's had a couple of beers and he's kind of chatting with his brothers, with his colleagues on the phone. And so her perspective of him, again, there's this kind of interruption of perspective, is that he gets to sit around talking with his bros and drinking beer, where I have to go out and deal with kids that are poopy or snotty or hungry or whatever, right? And his perspective is, look, I was at home working and you were out having fun at the park with the kids, right? So both of them have this problem about our misunderstanding or misinterpretation of what the other's role is or how they are experiencing their particular role. And then, of course, at the end, when they come back, he's been out with the kids, and there's this very quaint and lovely family moment where they're all talking and getting along together, acting like a family. So there is a kind of resolution there that shows that through the experience of this kind of voyeurism of looking at the neighbors, they realize they're brought home to what it is that they actually have. All right.